Hey guys, welcome. This is part two, the second video for this lesson on natural selection. If you haven't watched part one yet, go to the first slide in this slideshow. Watch that video. It explains all the vocabulary, all the practice I was asking you to do. This video is going to take you through the practice problems. Each one has multiple steps on it. I want you to understand what to do because we're asking you to put a lot of different information together and use up a lot of those vocab words that you're just now practicing. So let's get to it. This is the next slide. So we just left off from this slide. This slide, if you want to learn more about adaptations, you want more examples, you want to learn more about animals because animals are awesome, or you're just like sitting there in your home bored, watch this video. It's really cool. I'll post this video right here, and so this will keep you going. So selective pressure practice. So actually there's no part one or part two anymore. I'm gonna take that away. I want you, so these pictures over here are the slides coming down. There's 4 practice problems. I want you for each one to read the scenario, describe the selective pressure, which is why do only some individuals in a population, some zebras, some lions, some giraffes, why do only some of them survive and reproduce? Number 3 says determine the adaptation. That means what traits are being selected for? What traits, or maybe physical traits or behaviors, are making it more likely that some individuals will survive and reproduce and others not so much? And then down here, you're going to predict. If you know what's happening to the population, you know which individuals are going to survive and reproduce, you can tell me how will the population change over time. So let's get to it. Here's an example. All the highlighted parts, except for this up here, but these boxes are highlighted. Those are the parts that are examples for how you should answer them. And then, so if you're going down on the other practice problems, you want to come back and look at my example, do that, do that, do that. Okay, so let me move this. Can I move myself? Yeah, I'm moving over here. Whoa. Okay, here's the scenario. Potatoes are a food staple in many countries of the world. Staple means like something that everybody eats. It provides a lot of calories. There is variation in a population of potato plants for the genes that produce proteins that fight off a fungus. So you can think about that as resistance to the fungus, about its ability to not get sick from the fungus, things like that. So just building on that idea, some potato plants fight off the fungus really well. Other potato plants have very weak resistance to the disease and are killed very easily by it. Okay, and that's because of the genes. So this fungus is a terrible disease and will take over and kill the plant if the potato cannot fight it off. So here's actually a picture. You've never seen a potato before. That's a potato. And this is actually a fungus that kills potato plants. This is a real thing. It happens all over the world, and it's kind of a big deal and has had really big historical problems in the past, where like in Ireland back in the mid-19th century, 1850s, 1860s, tons of potatoes that everyone lived on just died. Now there's not enough food for people. And so a lot of Irish people then had to figure out what to do. Some of them starved to death. Some of them emigrated. That means they left their home. They came to America. Hey, Mr. Murphy, that's an Irish name. Those are my ancestors. Okay, so looking here. What is the selective pressure? Why are some potato plants dying, but not all of them? If I need to go, okay, I need to go back in here. What is it? Oh yeah, the fungus. So I wrote the selective pressure is the fungus because it kills the potatoes that are not good at fighting the disease. Hope that makes sense. Okay, now I need to think about what are the traits that are being selected for. Now, if you want to think about these definitions about selective pressure selected for, remember you can scroll on up. Selective pressure right here, the reason some individuals do not in a population do not survive to reproduce. Selective for means means traits that help you reproduce. Those are the good traits. The population is saying, "Ooh, yeah, we want that one. We want that trait." That's what's going to be selected for. And if you look at this example again, in this case, the orange bugs are being selected for. I'm not saying that the black birds are selecting to eat them. I'm saying that nature is saying, we are selecting orange bugs. They are the ones who will live and reproduce. The green bugs are being eaten, but they're actually being selected against because if you're green, you're less likely to survive and reproduce because those birds want to eat you. Okay, coming back to the example slide. So the trait being selected for is resistance to the disease. This resistance is a trait, like how well you are, the ability to fight it off, how good you are at fighting it off. Because, and I write in the because that makes you think when we have to write a because. Those potatoes are more likely to survive and reproduce. How about I'll add this? If there is fungus in the environment. Oh, so good, Mr. Murphy. Always write about the specific thing that's happening in the environment. The second part then is what trait are being selected against. The trait being selected against is being weak, is the weakness, the lack of resistance to the disease, because the disease is going to kill them, like we talked about over here in the selective pressure. Okay, so if we know that there's a population of potatoes and there's this fungus that's taking them over, and some of them are dying and some of them aren't, how will the population change over time? Over time, and when I say time, I don't mean like over 10 minutes, over a year. I mean over many generations. Usually it can take many generations for this to happen. So it depends on how long a potato takes to reproduce. I guess probably once or twice a year. So maybe 10 years, 50 years, 100 years down the line. Over time, the frequency of potato plants who are resistant, I'll change that, resistant to the fungus will increase. That means we will see more potato plants who are resistant, while the frequency of plants that are weaker will decrease. It means over time we'll see fewer plants that are weak. This is because the ones who are resistant stay alive. They actually reproduce. They pass on their genes. And so their offspring will have those genes that make them strong. And the ones that are weak died. They didn't reproduce. They were killed by the fungus, more likely to be killed by the fungus. And so there will be fewer of those weak fungus fighting genes left in the population. So over time, you can see how some populations will decrease, that some traits will decrease, the weakness will decrease, and the strength of being able to fight off the disease would increase in population over time. So now you have 4 examples: elephants, elk, polar bears, and some rainforest plants. Again, it's easy to understand things like natural selection, to think about animals you know and love: elephants, giraffes, polar bears. But I don't want you to think that this only happens in animals, because it happens in plants, happens in fungus, happens in tiny microbial bacteria that are inside your intestines right now. Natural selection is happening. So I want you to make sure, I want to give you examples, practice problems, so you can think about plants and other things besides just cute, awesome animals. So for each one, you're going to read the scenario. You're going to figure out what the selected pressure is. Make these blue like the other ones. You're going to determine which traits are being selected for and against, and predicting how will the population change over time. Now this should be hard. This should be difficult. This should require quite a bit of practice, which is why I'm giving you so much. So I want you to give it a shot. I want you to come back to this video, go back to the example I just went over about the potatoes, read what I wrote, hear how I explain my thinking, go back to the vocabulary, read them again. Each time you do that, you get a little bit stronger, right? You get a little bit better. You're going to turn this in to your teacher. Your teacher can give you feedback. Good job, guy. You really got this. Or what about this on this time? You didn't talk about the reproducing or the environment. Then you can give it another shot. So there's 4 examples here, and then your exit ticket is a quiz. So I want you to take this quiz when you're ready. If you want feedback before you take the quiz, I understand that. So go ahead and turn it in and come back for the quiz. You're going to click on this. It's going to open a quiz. It's also here. And I want you to take it. I want you to do the best you can. If you take the quiz, you don't do so hot, you want another opportunity, talk to your teachers. We'll give a reassessment quiz. There's already one made. We'll get you the link. We'll get that done for you guys as well, so you can always reassess. That's it. I am so happy that you guys have taken the time to watch these videos, to taking the time to do your science work, to do any work. I hope you're reading. I hope you're getting outside. It's not sunny anymore. It's going to be sunny again maybe on Friday. Unfortunately, it's going to take a couple of days of rain. It's not easy for us to be at home. Maybe in the background you can hear my wife, Miss Penora, yelling at my kids. We're all stressed out. So I don't want you to think that if you turn in an assignment late, that I'm sitting there just furious that you're turning in things late. I'm so happy every time you guys turn in something because that means that you're keeping your brains working. That means that you're reading, you're thinking. And then when all this is over, we can come out of our hiding holes and go, oh my gosh, the world, we didn't fall way back behind. So thank you guys. Encourage your friends to get to work, to join Zoom meetings your classes might be having. Don't forget to put questions on the question doc as you come to them. That's up here on the slide number 2. And if you have any questions, any problems, email your teachers. We want to hear from you. We miss you so much. Be good, be safe, keep your brains working, wash your hands. Talk to you soon. Bye.